of America. Good afternoon on the West Coast. Good afternoon in the mountain. Good afternoon in the central. Good afternoon on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the reparationist perspective, bringing you those ADOCS hot topics and making the case for reparations, making the case for weaponizing our vote and socializing our suffering. And today, family, yes, we're going to cover Joe Biden's first 100 days. He made his first speech to Congress as the president. All he mentioned in that speech relative to American descendants of chattel slavery was the George Floyd Act. Now, we're going to go over that act, and you tell me, you be the judge, if the George Floyd Act was already law, would it have saved and spared Mr. Floyd's life? We're going to talk about it. Why he's talking about, American jobs plans. I don't know how any of this gets done, family, without quotas for ADOCS. I really don't, because left to their own devices, they don't hire us all over the country, especially Black men. So we're going to talk about why employment rates are so low among Black men, which is pivotal, right? If the Black man can't bring an American salary, how can he afford to get married? And how then can he afford the children? So what does that do to our race? Another form of ethnic cleansing, family. You better wake up. We're also going to talk about Biden's details, his proposal to advance racial equity in America. Joe Biden pledges to address pay systemic racism, always throwing in the Latinas. Black and Latino unemployment gap remains too large. We're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about how the Senate approved Asian American hate crime bills, which, Biden talked about in his address to Congress yesterday. And we're going to talk about the White House task force on new Americans, while the government has yet to make the original people, the foundational blacks who've been here since before the country was formed, we're not American yet. But in 2014, Obama comes up with a new American plan that is dealing with immigrants and refugees, not you, American descendant of chattel slavery. I keep telling y'all what they're seeking to do is make us fourth-class citizens in the country our ancestors built with their lives. Make us eat the cost of slavery. That's what's happening here. And y'all need to wake up and get politically active before our people perish. Okay? They've got new American offices in New York City, Chicago, Nevada, Atlanta, Richmond, and Miami-Dade. Okay? And it's bizarre. What's up, Brian Johnson? Hi, Trey X. Thank you guys so much for joining the live. And for those of you who have yet to chat where you're slinging bricks, I thank you so much for joining the live. Now, yesterday, I jumped on to do the Fox Soul Black Report. And the young lady, the producer, was like, we need you tomorrow because we need you to watch the Biden address to the Congress so you can share on our broadcast today how you saw it. Okay? So I have copious notes. And in the event they mess up again, I'm going to do this show about the notes I took. So y'all gonna get it twice. Furthermore, they're not going to let me take over the platform. I'm sure I'm going to have to share, which is very difficult when you're born to talk, right? When you're born to talk, you need the entire hour. You need two, really, but you try to cram it in an hour because I know my people get ear fatigue. So let's jump right into it, family. And I'm going to jump back and forth between my articles. Feel free to chat amongst yourselves. You guys are some of the best co-hosts ever on the planet. What's up, Denise Jarrett, expert stylist? I see you, family. Oh, thank you, love. I do my best to be consistent because we're going to be finished if we don't have people like you guys watching and spreading the word. You understand? Folks think we've arrived. They actually think Biden was talking about their inclusion. The only thing I hear as ADOCS, as part of the tribe, as part of the movement in the fight for reparations, was the George Floyd Act. Okay? But let me go to my notes. They'll let me get in maybe a couple of these points tonight on the show. What I decided I'm going to do, I have yet to receive a link from the producers as to how you guys can watch live. So I'm going to do a premiere, meaning I'm going to get the clip, get the link. I think y'all go to Fox Soul, the Black Report, and can watch it live. It's supposed to go live at 4:30, but I told that they made me a liar yesterday. So the way I'm going to handle ensuring that I don't give misinformation, I'm going to tape it, and I'm going to get the link, and I'm going to share it through StreamYard and through a premiere so I can chat with you guys as we observe my performance, because I'm going hard in the paint because I got so many more people watching. Hopefully that will translate into more numbers over here on YouTube. As you guys know, Facebook has disabled me, and all I can do at this point, I'm not going to give them the privilege of streaming live in Facebook anymore. I just copy and paste the link over on my page that I created, that I ADOCS rigged, okay, over there. Now, if you want access to me in Facebook, I've got to vet people very closely. I can't do like I did last time. I believe a combination of things, including my followers on a public Angela Nirvana. I believe that's why I got disabled, based on a comrade who shared. So you have to email me now, friendsofadostv@gmail.com, if you want to get If you want to send me a friend request and you need to know the name of where to send that to, you must email me. I'm not making that page public at all. When they disable me and put it under review, they got access to all my videos, all my family, my friends, my photos, everything. So I believe I'm on some kind of list and I'm being watched. So I've got to be very, very careful, family. If you want in on that page, email me. Brian says the way we as Black men are systemically disarmed in the job market and economically shut out is the same way we were buck broken in the days of slavery, a strategic form of weakening the family. You're absolutely spot on. One of my staunchest co-hosts, Brian C. Johnson. Prayerfully one day he'll be a co-host and we can see him and we can chomp it up because his comments are always spot on. They are working to ethically cleanse out ADOCS. At the very least, make us fourth-class citizens. So let's get into my notes and get into this topic because I got to go. I got to be in court at 1:30, so I can't go over like I normally do. Okay, so now Biden was talking about this American jobs plan. I just had a conversation with some of my comrades over with the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California. We just chopped it up because I was sharing with them about how we need to get legislatively involved down here. Family, reparations is a marathon, not a sprint. I mean, hell. Every time we think we've made traction, then they give us one more, stumbling block by talking this nonsense about cashless reparations when they owe us in the trillions. Forgive me, the intro was off because I was trying to go live with Instagram. It's just a lot. I'm trying to build more millennials and Gen Zs in the fight. It's time for us as Gen Xers to teach them what the boomers failed to teach us. They failed us miserably. And you can call me what you want. I know there's some exceptions, but far too few. But I don't understand how you allowed our affirmative action to be used to protect all these other classes before your own people. And we are bottom caste in the country our ancestors built with their lives. How did the boomers allow this? So I am going to figure this out, how I can be on Instagram with the young people. I'm not old by no stretch. Get old for what? But I'm trying to figure out how to reach them because we need them in this fight. We need them in this fight. And they need to understand now, right now, how this government and the mainstream media are complicit in ethnically cleansing us as a race, all the way down to the numbers of, I would say, the Indians. So Biden talked about an American jobs plan. I was sharing with my comrades in a meeting yesterday that we fail in most of our cities because we're not engaged. We're not tracking the bills on a local and state level. And when we fail to do that, guess who is doing it? Guess who is legislatively tracking and creating bills in their own interest while we chase after reparations to our own peril? I don't mean take our ball off of reparations at all, by no stretch. But we must engage locally and at the state level, because that is where the real crime against our people is happening. We've gone down from 16 to 5% or less since COVID. I don't even know. Here in Southern California, it is abysmal and a nightmare what's happening to us. And I'm here to tell you, Prop 16 to eradicate Prop 209 to get us affirmative action was totally dismantled. It was crap to begin with. Why do you say it was crap, Angela? Because Prop 209 undid the right to establish quotas for ADOCS, meaning corporations have to hire a certain number of us. Without that quota in place, we are doomed because our boomers allowed affirmative action to be co-opted by white women, immigrants, and LGBTQIA. Do you understand they can hire any one of these three groups to fulfill their quotas or their affirmative action? Because they claim now Prop 209 and much legislation throughout the country has undermined us when they take away the quotas. Oh my God. See, I didn't even listen past Biden. Oh my God, Trey. Oh, I didn't even listen past Biden. I just couldn't even stomach it. I have to go and find that because I'm going to have to do a response video now. That's nauseating. Anywho, back to what I was saying. So, what they did with Prop 209 down here in California, which was one of our own, Ward Connerly undermined our affirmative action by getting rid of quotas. Now, who does this benefit when you get rid of quotas? The people that don't need quotas, like the Asians, whose median national income is $87,000. We have always needed quotas in order to be hired in corporate with 3Ks America. Even in the private sector, we're being replaced by those same three groups under our affirmative action meant to make us whole. So in sharing with my comrades on CJAC about this, I was telling them that Prop 16 was crap anyway. We need quotas. They said 209 undid that. We can't do quotas. But do you know the slick way they're replacing us down here and all over the country? You're now required to speak Spanish. So they get rid of quotas, but then they put in the language in order to get a job interview that you have to be bilingual. Whether you need to be bilingual or not, they're putting that in every measure when it comes to getting hired. That's another way to guarantee a quota. And when you have no social capital at the table, you don't have nobody like you at the table. And even when you do, they're like the Tim Scott, the Trey X just mentioned. They're whitewashed. They're black white supremacists at those tables. They're to do the bidding for the white inferiors, to keep you out, to deny you access. Okay? So, in effect, that's what they're doing. That is what they're doing. They're coming up with clever ways to exclude us. Now, you can show up to the interview speaking Spanish as if you were native born. Okay? Fluent. But when you show up looking like ADOCS, you do not get those jobs. I don't care how much Spanish you know. So stop being deceived. And let's look at what's happening on the local level instead of just having our whole focus and energy directed towards the reparations. Sadly, we're at George Floyd 929, which means we've got to have our eye on every ball. We're being squeezed from all directions. And we're being pushed out, and we're being ethnically cleansed out of this country. So let's get into it. ADOCS unemployment. And so he's talking about an American jobs plan with no quotas. He didn't talk no specifics about how these awesome jobs, let's go through the list. Okay. Hold on. The American jobs plan. Here we go. Now it opens up. He starts talking about, well, the American Rescue Plan is changing the course of the pandemic and delivering relief for working families, not ADOCS. This is no time to build back to the way things were. This is the moment to reimagine and rebuild a new economy. The American Jobs Plan is an investment in America that will create millions of good jobs, rebuild our country's infrastructure, and position the U.S. to outcompete China. Sounds good, right? Public domestic investment as a share of the economy has fallen by more than 40% since the 60s. That's when we had affirmative action exclusively benefiting us, which is why you see many boomers who are set. They've got their pensions because they were able to get jobs under affirmative action, and they were also able to buy property. And it's like they said, we can relax. And then walks in the reparations movement. The American Jobs Plan will invest in America in a way we have not invested since we built the interstate highways and won the space race. This is his FDR moment, but not for ADOCS. The USA is the wealthiest country in the world, yet we rank 13th when it comes to the overall quality of our infrastructure. Why have we fallen off? Because they have stripped blacks in this country of an education. They have taken away industrial arts, where our brothers learn to work with their hands. They have stripped away home ec. So our young black girls can learn how to keep a home. This is what they've done in the public schools. They've taken from the public schools in our neighborhoods and given that money to the public schools in the white neighborhoods, where they are rich, where their median national income is $65,000. They give them a private school education with our public school dollars. And then folks want to say silly shit like, I heard recently they were complaining that we complain too much about the white inferior race soldiers executing us, and we don't speak enough on black murder. That pisses me off to the highest degree of festivity. Why, Angela? Because this is no different than what was happening to the Irish, the Italians, before you made them white and gave them access. Whenever you deprive any group of the resources they need for their very survival, they turn on each other and eat their young. These Democrats and Republicans alike, they create the conditions, make them dire in our communities. They want to scratch their balls and talk about black on black crime and murder, and try to even remotely compare it to the government sanctioned executions of the white inferior race soldiers of our people exclusively, with a very rare exceptions. The very Asians that they're protecting, less than 1% of them get annihilated by the race soldiers. The majority of the annihilations by the race soldiers that are state and government sanctioned is American descendants of chattel slavery. So because y'all are hiring the KKK, as evidenced by an FBI investigation back in 2016 from 2006, down here in California, CJEC is working to decimate qualified immunity. Since y'all want to keep playing this game, acting like the George Floyd Act is going to do a damn thing to spare our lives, while you continue to be more concerned about the First Amendment rights of the KKK neo-Nazis and the skinheads over Black Lives Mattering in this country, then here we're decimating qualified immunity and holding you accountable when you execute an unarmed black woman, black man, or black child. And this is the work that you guys need to be doing on the local and state level while fighting for reparations. We got to multitask. We're being squeezed from all directions, family. And you will never be able to afford to sleep peaceably ever again. I don't care how much they approve. It's a fight to get the approval. It'll be a fight to sustain it as exclusively ours. Okay. Thank you for your donation. Somebody just hit me up. Thank you. Here, let me find my banner. In case you feel compelled to give to helping me to educate the masses and to advocate for ADOCS, I appreciate your generosity. It's definitely a full-time job. Okay, so White House Task Force. Hold on, I lost my place. Oh God, every time I do anything, here we go. Oh no, that's not it. That's not it. Okay, I'm back. So yeah, you guys got to understand what we're up against and understand that once we get it, we can't allow it. We cannot allow it to go away like the boomers slept on our affirmative actions. Okay? So let's go back to the text. After decades of disinvestment, our roads, bridges, and water systems are crumbling. Our electric grid is vulnerable to catastrophic outages. Too many lack access to affordable, high-speed internet and to quality housing. You guys need to be doing your best. I don't know with what, but you got to go to trade school so you can at least, apply for some of these jobs that are coming down the pike. You must, when you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. The past year has led to job losses and threatened economic security, eroding more than 30 years of progress in women's labor force participation. They've said nothing about what this has done to, quadruple the impact on Black men. Black women can't have babies by themselves. We need our Black men to have very, very well-paying jobs. They need salaries commensurate with the white inferiors who killed and stole all of our wealth that our ancestors created for this country with their lives. He says nothing here about that. You're always talking about women like you're going to pit us against our men. It doesn't happen over here at the Reparations Perspective. I love and honor and revere Black men as some of the most beautiful, brilliant minds ever in the world. That's who they are. And this is your way of annihilating our seed to continue our race. I see you with the third eye. Government and mainstream media. Back to the text. And furthermore, all these Black wannabe feminists need to question, what the hell have white feminists, feminists done for you? What have they done for you or your people? That's what you need to ask yourself. I'm sure some of them may have turned up for some of these marches for Black Lives to Matter. But I mean, by and large, I really don't see them fighting for you, not even when it comes to being paid salaries commensurate with theirs. It has unmasked the fragility of our caregiving infrastructure, and our nation is falling behind its biggest competitors on research and development, manufacturing, and training. Yeah, because y'all outsourced all the jobs overseas so that the rich can continue to get richer. They're the only ones, according to the address last night, that are balling out of control while ADOCS are sleeping in their cars, losing their homes. Barack Obama created 1 million white millionaires during his tenure. Over 53% of ADOCS lost all their wealth, their homes. And this pandemic is coming for the rest to wipe us completely off the monopoly board. Back to the text. It has never been more important for us to invest in strengthening our infrastructure and competitiveness and in creating the good paying union jobs of the future. Okay, so I'm done reading that part. These are some of the jobs, and then I'm going to talk to you about how abysmal the black male unemployment numbers are. If you castrate the black man, there's no more black babies. This is what they're looking to do, to ethnically cleanse us. Y'all need to review how the Nazis did the German Jews. Y'all need to review your history. This is how it happens. In plain sight, hiding in plain sight. So some of these jobs will be fix highways, rebuild bridges, upgrade ports, airports, and transit systems. You guys can go and see this at the whitehouse.gov. I'm just going to give the highlights. Deliver clean drinking water, a renewed electric grid, and high-speed broadband to all Americans. Build, preserve, and retrofit more than 2 million homes and commercial buildings. Modernize our nation's schools and child care facilities, and upgrade veterans, hospitals, and federal buildings. Solidify the infrastructures of our care economy by creating jobs, raising wages. He talked about $15 an hour. By the time that gets done, it ain't even by the time that gets done. $15 an hour does nothing to put you in a home when the median home price is $340,000. Okay? Raising wages and benefits for essential home care workers. Revitalize manufacturing, secure U.S. supply chains, invest in research and development, and train Americans for the jobs of the future. Create good quality jobs that pay prevailing wages and safe and healthy workplaces while ensuring workers have a free and fair choice to organize, join a union, and bargain collectively with their employees. With their employers. I'm moving down. Build world-class transportation and infrastructure. Fix highways. Okay, we did that part. Transform our crumbling transportation infrastructure. You get the idea. I can't read all this because it'll take up my whole show. There's a lot. But the challenge I have is if you don't have quotas, our affirmative action, our boomer class and the CDC, the people we've elected, will go to white women as a minority, LGBTQIA, and the immigrants under the new American plan. Let's talk about it. Hold on. Okay, hold on, guys. I'm sorry. White House Task Force on New Americans. Obama, who we put into office like we put y'all. I helped put Obama in there for 2 terms, and I have lived to regret it every day of my life. I'm not, losing sleep over it. But like I said, he created 1 million white millionaires during his tenure, while 53% of us lost the only asset we had, our homes. God spared my home as Bank of America was trying to foreclose on my property while I was going through what they put me through, a 2.5-year loan modification process. I was blessed with a permanent principal loan reduction, which cut my mortgage in half. So I give God all the glory and all the praise, because these Mickey Fickies were trying to take my house while never addressing my modification application. God did better than that. But far too many of us lost our homes. So the White House Task Force on New Americans started with Obama. Look it up. This is a strategic action plan on immigrant and refugee integration. In November 2014, President Barack Obama established the White House Task Force on New Americans, a government-wide effort tasked with better integrating immigrants and refugees into American communities civically, economically, and linguistically. Now you need to know Spanish just to get a job interview. Thanks to Obama. This strategic plan outlines the task force integration strategy for the federal government, including goals and recommendations on building welcoming communities. Welcoming America is proud to have been included in the plan as part of the task force's recommendations for engaging receiving communities. You got sanctuary cities cropping up all over the place to usher in 26,000 migrant children per month. So who do you think those American jobs are for? The new Americans, family. Wake up. Wake up. So that's what you see. Hold on. I'm going to my next article. Dealing with how the Senate has given Asians protections while we've had an anti-lynch bill for over 100 years now. Now, we can't get into law, but they can give protections to a group that's had to endure 68% verbal assault since the COVID. And the white folks are executing you while you sit back and allow this country to paint us as the people. The very people that you grow $1 bazillion in sales in our communities, you sit back and allow this racist country to deem us as the problematic ones when it comes to your anti-Asian racist sentiment. Because you want to identify with whiteness because they're making you white. As a matter of fact, your median national income is $87,000. In rare bipartisanship, in rare moment of bipartisanship unity, I told y'all this government, the Democrats and the Republicans are two wings of the same oligarchical bird with our extinction in mind. A rare moment of bipartisan unity, Senate approves Asian American hate crimes bill. This article is dated April 22nd. Stop Asian hate. We can't talk about Black Lives Mattering, but now the campaign has shifted, thanks to the government and the mainstream media, to stopping Asian hate when 68% of their assaults are verbal. And when they're annihilated by the white inferiors, the vigilante civilians, and, that's who's killing them. Not calling that out. They just arrested a young girl, two girls. They got into an argument with Asian beauty supply store owners. They claim that the girl, spewed anti-Asian racist sentiment towards them. They've been charged with hate crimes. Black girls. But y'all want to sit here and give cover to that sexually deprived, having a bad day, white inferior glacier donkey who executed 6 Asian workers in those little sex houses. I don't know what to call them right now off the top of my head. And y'all want to sit here and say, it wasn't a hate crime. He was just having a bad day. And he's sexually repressed. But these 2 black girls get into it with the beauty supply store owners of an Asian-owned shop, and all they had to do was tell the police that they spewed anti-Asian sentiment towards them, verbal assaults, and now they've been brought up on charges. Out of all the names they call us, all the things that are done to us by every group in this country, do you see anybody getting arrested and getting charged? When they call us all manner of thing and out of our name, do you see that happening? And yet, you want to give cover to the glacier donkey who executed 6 Asian women at these sex houses down in Georgia. But you want to arrest these sisters that got into a fight with these two Asian business owners in our community. And they get protections and we don't. This is a show before the show on Fox Soul, The Black Report. Because they ain't going to let me do all this. You'll see a different version of me on that show. But I'm going to get the point across. And I'm definitely going to represent. Capping nearly 2 weeks of talks between the Democrats and the Republicans, the Senate approved legislation on Thursday to ramp up law enforcement efforts to better protect the Asian American and Pacific Islander community from hate crimes. Oh, Biden stayed away from all the money he gave them, $80.5 million for their COVID relief, for their domestic violence, and for their anti-Asian and Pacific Islander, racism. Left that out. Didn't talk numbers to America last night with the Congress. Mm-hmm. The move marks a rare moment of bipartisan unity needed to approve the Senate legislation despite a new political era marked by increasingly bitter party divisions. The bill, which needed 60 votes for passage in the evenly divided Senate, was approved by what? 94-1 vote. But we can't get the Senate to pass an anti-lynch bill into law. And Biden did not make an executive order of it. Biden didn't make an executive order of a study that we should not need. He didn't need a study when he gave $30.2 billion to the Indians recently, on top of the millions that Trump gave. Let's look at that number. Trump gave Indians. Hold on, y'all. Money. Federal judge ordered Trump administration to give Native Americans their withheld stimulus money. That's not what I'm interested in. Wow. Trump invested $3 million to preserve Native American languages. But we got to speak Spanish to get a job interview. And what else did he give them? Trump had some Native American roundtable amid heat on $8 billion in coronavirus relief. So he gave them $8 billion. Biden just gave them $30.2 billion. Yes, I'm pocket watching. Because my people ain't got nothing, and we're the ones that delivered them the White House. So that's $38.2 billion so far, plus the $3 million, plus all the repair in the casinos they've gotten since 1866, while we're being ignored. So 94-1, you have to understand you're being ethnically cleansed about this country, family. The Hispanics already outnumber us. Next will be the Asians. We will be fourth class, like Dr. Claude Anderson has been repeatedly sounding the alarm. I guess I'm picking up the mantle. Only GOP Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri voted no. That's the only no. The bill, which needed 60 votes for passage, the vote today on the anti-Asian hate crime bill is proof that when the Senate is given the opportunity to work, the Senate can work to solve important issues. The bill next heads to the House, where it's being led by Democratic Rep. Grace Ming. They get to represent themselves. Of New York, and is expected to gain approval. Of course it will. If it passed 94-1 in the Senate, going to the House is just a formality. It's a done deal. Biden had urged approval for hate crimes legislation in the wake of a March shooting in Georgia that left several women of Asian descent dead. And how many of us have been executed by the race soldiers, civilian and police force alike? How many lives has it cost us during our 400 plus year Holocaust that the Democrats never like to speak about, never like to do anything about? I'm done with that. It's making me nauseous. Welcome to the live if I have yet to greet you. Now, why are employment rates so low among Black men? Let's talk about it. This is a part of the ethnic cleansing of ADOCS. This is the way you castrate Black men, and this is the way you castrate Black families. I swear. I don't know why I like drinking out of this thermos because it leaks, but I won't throw it away. All right. This is how you castrate Black men. If they can't work, they can't marry. If they don't marry, they'll continue to have children out of wedlock that they can't afford to take care of, or opt to not have any at all. MGTOW, men going their own way. This is what you create when you don't focus specifically on guaranteeing jobs for Black men. And it's not because they're not trying. Some may have given up. But once again, the boomers failed us. They failed to protect our affirmative action and put the gate up around it. Now, minority covers white women, immigrants, and LGBTQIA. As the U.S. grapples with its long history of racial exploitation and exclusion and the unacceptably large racial disparities in virtually all meaningful walks of life, a spotlight is once again beginning to focus on the plight of Black men in the U.S. Such concern is not unprecedented. About 15 years ago, there was a brief flurry of attention paid to the high incarceration and low employment rates of Black men. And you wonder why they're murdering and robbing each other. You put Black men in a community that you redline, in an environmentally racist communities that you redline them into, rob them of resources, and then you scratch your balls wondering why there's so much murder and crime. As if this didn't happen to the Italians and the Irish before you made them white, akin to how you're making Asians white, making Hispanics white. Back to the text. And their consequences for Black families and communities. Indeed, some positive policy efforts ensued, particularly in the area of incarceration. Like what? Where a broad consensus developed on the harmful effects of mass incarceration and the need for policy to lower it. What policy has been passed to lower our incarceration rates? Last count, I think we were at about 1.5 to 2 million Black men in jail, many of whom are there for nonviolent offenses, like peddling weed that the state now turns a profit on, and they still have not been released. And when you release them, there are no jobs. They've got records. They can't vote. And to help justice-involved individuals re-enter society. Yet little positive effort was made at that time, or at any time since, to improve employment outcomes among Black men and youth, and these outcomes remain disturbingly weak. Now, this article is dated March 1st this year. Okay, below the author provides the latest evidence on employment rates of Black men and reviews what we know about its causes. He then considers a range of policy efforts that can improve them. Well, get your pens out. This is where everybody gets to be in the movement. Get your pens out, because we're going over this. with the last time I have remaining. I'll just pick up on tomorrow for the rest of the segment because we got to go in on this. This is critical. Table 1 shows employment rates in the U.S. by race and gender from recent Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS for short, data that are published monthly for ages 20 and above in the Employment Situation Reports. I focus on 3 outcomes: unemployment, labor force participation, and employment in the population. The last of these measures summarizes the effects of the other 2 and remains the single best measure we have of broad employment activity. Me speaking. Dollars bring dignity. Being poor makes us George Floyd. Them hiring the race soldiers to police in our distressed communities is why these executions will continue until they can be held accountable. You either need to A, stop hiring them, or B, which you're not going to do, or B, you need to dismantle qualified immunity. Put that in your notes. That's what you need to be working on locally, because they're going to continue to hire them. But the minute you can hold their pensions accountable and force them to pay for insurance to cover their executions of us, this is going to continue until we are as small in number as the Indians. 3, all 3 outcomes appear separately by race and gender and for both January 2020 and January 2021. The former allows us to compare racial and gender employment outcomes at the very peak of the business cycle, while the latter reflects the devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and recession on these outcomes on men and women of color in the labor market. So let me share my screen so we can get into it. I'll be back over for your comments. I'm going to try to get, let's just do this part and I'll look at you. Let me just look at your comments now while I'm over here. And welcome those of you who have yet to greet. Denise says, thank you so much for bringing this information consistently. You're welcome, my love. Brian says, oh, I read that. Trey X says, I've been watched by trolls after I report the news, so be careful, guys. Trey, where are you reporting the news? I meant to ask you this in that group text. Could you please put in the chat where people can find you reporting, where your show is? Congratulations, by the way. We need all the new Black media we can get. Brian says, I've been getting an increase in friend requests of FB lately. Most I accept as I know them to be of ADOCS. A few here and there can be suspect. Honey, let me tell you, don't make your pages public. That's the mistake I made. I was trying to grow the movement, made the pages public. So people were following me from all walks of life, which we cannot control. They can follow you still. And as a result, Facebook disabled me. Okay, so let me see here. No racism. Brian says no race to Trey X's comment. Senator Tim Scott had the audacity to say there's no racism and cops are our friends. Brian in response says no racism, but a crime bill to combat anti-Asian hate was passed with bipartisan support 94-1. And we still can't get our 100-year-old anti-lynch bill signed into law. Senate won't pass it. They're not even attempting to, and we're 50-50 in the Senate now. Brian says, as a recruiter said years ago, the interviews always go well, so as to keep you from going on social media to remark on any red flags of discrimination. The hiring is a whole nother story. It's a nightmare what's happening to us. Told you. I hate when people bring that up. Black on black crime. Most of those offenses are poverty-based. Thank you, Brian. Not to mention, most commit crimes within their own race because they're redlined in environmentally racist communities with their own race. There was nothing different about Italian crime and murder. Nothing different with Irish on Irish crime and murder. Whenever you rob a community of resources, this is what they do for survival. It gets on my nerves too. Brian says, I further hate when they bring up Chicago, the golden egg of white supremacist talking points. It just pisses me all the way off. They literally put warring gangs into the same high-rise tenement housing after they pushed them out of the city. Hi, Rachel. Mwindawa. Hello. Can we ask questions? You absolutely can ask questions, my love. That's what the chat is for. Yes, ask plenty of questions. I love questions. Brian says, in disarming the black man, mainstream tells the black woman she no longer needs him, not unlike Willie Lynch tactics. And for the stupid black women that fall for that, I just have no words. Because you're absolutely stupid if you come against black men, which is the seed to our very existence. We ain't just having Mary Magdalene moments, not Mary Magdalene, Mary. We're not having immaculate babies by immaculate conception. Okay, we need our black men. Brian says she is then led to believe through feminist tactics that she can do it all alone, or her best bet is the support of a non-black man, initiating the breeding out of the black race. You better know it, Brian. That's exactly what they're doing. Ethnically cleansing us out till this pigment is done. And I'm grateful that you guys over here on the Reparationist Perspective are hip to the games. Herb saying, I see you, family. Thank you for joining the line. AKA hypergamy. Hypergamy. I have to look that word up. Hypergamy, meaning stripping us of the pigment. Yes, I heard. I don't watch mainstream media at all. I don't watch TV like that. I've got my own channels that I pay for because I am sick of it. I am sick of them trying to ethnically cleanse us out and make us the face of the LGBTQIA. I cannot stomach it. And so I've been hearing that the commercials are showing black women with white men. And that is to fulfill the hypergamy. You continue sleeping white, it eventually lightens you so you can identify as white. Herb Saint says, I read an article about China's influence on Western politics and politicians. One cannot help to wonder how many politicians were paid off by China to pass this legislation that would provide cover. Herb Saint, bring it, family. Bring the fire. Herb Saint says, for Chinese operatives, Trump was on to something. Trump absolutely was. That's why they came for his jugular. And black folks were silly enough to fall for his racist antics and tropes in name only. They can't show me a record as long as Biden and Kamala's record against ADOCS for Trump. They decided, 87% of our electorate decided it was best to replace a racist in office to 7 years with no record against ADOCS, with racists in office a combined 65 years, with records against us several New York City blocks long. Trump was on to something when he was building the wall. How dare they have a new American plan when they've yet to make us American? How dare they? We build all the wealth both groups eat from, the immigrants and the white folks alike. Brian says, no, they tell black folk racism is a figment of your imagination. Woo, to Jesus. Herb Saint says, natives own 2/3 of the state of Oklahoma. And the Cherokee just gave the descendants of Cherokee enslavement the right to identify as Cherokee, so that they can get some of those 1866 reparations that the Indians sold to white folks for $5. Brian said, it's like the recent Joints for Jabs, hashtag Joints for Jabs campaign, giving weed in place of getting vaccines. I see the okie dokie now. Give black men those trinkets for a vax, then lock them up for drug possession. Oh my God. First it was Krispy Kreme donuts. They were handing out diabetes. All you have to do is come in there and show proof that you were vaccinated. You could get a Krispy Kreme donut every day. So you're encouraged to vax. Axvay. I have to speak in codes over here. Pig Latin. You're encouraged to axvay when you're totally healthy in exchange for diabetes daily with a Krispy Kreme donut. And now you're getting joints so you can stay high since you can't get employed. These axvays are not FDA approved, and they don't prevent you from contracting COVID. Okay? Brian says, black women, go get that zaddy. Okay, I'm sorry, could not resist. You don't ever have to apologize over here. Y'all done heard me say some crazy off the wall stuff too. Herb Saint, New American Plan, you better know it. Toothy, what's up, family? Angela, you should look up Save Yourself Black Men or SYSBM, CISBM, which encourage black men to date outside of the race as a result of the agenda. Oh, Toothy, you've never lied, baby. You've never lied. I know the plan. I see them. So back to the text. Let me share the screen so we can get done. I got to go to court at 1:30. I'll probably push this up to 1:25 because we got work to do, family. Okay. So let's share the screen about black men and these abysmal low employment rates. Can y'all see? Let me make sure. Oh, Lord, let me make sure where I'm sharing from first. I keep losing my spot. Okay, it appears to be to the right. Okay. Let me make sure y'all can see that. Oh, it's so, ooh. Can y'all see that? Or do I need to just make it the whole screen? I think, okay, guys, I'm going to disappear so y'all can see this. It's way too small. Okay. So there we go. I'll be back. I'm still here. Don't freak out that you can't see my face. Okay. I'll be back. So let's look at this table. Now, this is an article dated March 1st, 2021. We're dealing with the table 1. These are the employment outcomes by race and gender, January 2020 and 2021. Okay, so let me explain what the definitions are. The UR is unemployment rate. Let's go back up. LFP is labor force participation. And employment in the population. And the last one measure summarizes the effects of the other two and remains the single best measure we have of broad employment activity. Okay. So in January 2021, white males had an unemployment rate of 2.8%. Oh God, an LFPR, labor force participation and employment in the pop. I don't know what EPOP means. of 71.8%. Employment population, labor force participation, and employment in the population. So, labor force participation for whites, labor force participation rate is 71.8% for white men. And, that EPOP, what does that mean? Sorry, guys. The last one summarizes the effect of the other two and remains the single best measure we have of broad employment activity. EPOP. So that's broad employment, I guess, EPOP, 69.8%. In 2021, as a result of COVID, their unemployment rate went from 2.8 to 5.5. Their labor force participation rate did not change that much. They were still engaged in the workforce, 71.8 to 69.8. And because I don't know what that EPOP means exactly, I'm just going to leave that number alone. It's 66. It's making my brain hurt. The Black men's unemployment rate, look at this, 5.7 in January 2022. Labor force participation was 67.4. EPOP, whatever that means, 63.6. I guess that's overall. So after COVID, 9.4%. We went from 5.7 to 9.4%, double that of whites in both instances. We build all the wealth they eat from, but our unemployment rates are double theirs. And labor force participation rate only went down to 66.1%. I don't know if I believe that. 67.4 to 66.1. I don't know how that has only slightly moved when our unemployment rates have doubled. That doesn't make sense to me. Latino males. This is what I'm talking about, family. You're being ethnically cleansed. They're more gainfully employed than us. In January 2020, our unemployment rate was 5.7. Theirs is 3.4. Labor force participation rate for us is 67.4. They've got more labor force participation than even the white folks at 71.8. Latino males are 81.6 gainfully employed. This is your new American plan at work. In January 2021, their unemployment numbers went to 7.7, but their labor force participation rate, is holding strong. Well, not strong. 78.5. They went down from 81.6 to 78.5, which is a bigger margin. That's a larger impact than that of the impact of us, but we are less employed than they are. We're on the bottom. Let's look at white women. Unemployment rate for white women, 2.7. Labor force participation rate, 58.3. Post-COVID, 5.1. 56.2 is their labor force participation. They're still pretty much gainfully employed. Black females, unemployment rate, comparable to our black males at 5.4. Actually, black males is 5.7 in 2020. We're close behind them, 5.4. Black males unemployment rate 67.4. Labor force participation. The black men are in the labor force and participate more than black women. That's good to see. We're at 63.5. Our black men are 67.4. Still abysmally low to have our ancestors build all the wealth this country eats from with their lives. And then we have, after the pandemic, Our black unemployment rates for black women is 8.5%, 8.5. From 5.4 to 8.5. And our labor force participation rate went down significantly from 63.5 to 59.8. Let's look at the Latino women. Their unemployment rate was 4.5. But guess what? The Latin males' unemployment rate is 3.4. 81%, 81.6% labor force participation. You see that? And then, so you got the Latina race is exploding because Latina men are 81.6% of the job force. Our numbers are static because black men can't get work. Once again, black men's labor force participation pre-COVID was 67.4. Post-COVID is 66.1. So Latina females is 61.1 to black females 63.5. And guess what? We're more educated than the Latinas. But their men are 81.6% of the labor force participation. We're more educated than the Latina females, but we are, pretty much competing for the bottom with Latina females as black women. Down here, we're 44% degree. They're 17% degree. Our median income down here is $53,500. Their median income is $50,000. That's what Color of Wealth report from 2004 to 2014. You can look it up. I tell you no lies. So post-COVID, Latina females unemployment went from 4.5 to 8.8, with 57.8% of them labor force participation rates. So here's a chart to show you what I just read you. Employment in the population by race and gender, January 2020 and 21. But Biden's got the new American plan. Look at where we at. Look at where we chart. Look at the Latino males. While Joe Biden spends $141 million per week to bring in 26,000 migrant children. Look at that. Look at black males. In January 2020 is the blue, and January 2021 is the green. This is what I just read you on the chart. But when you are a white or a Latina woman and you've got employment rates by your men, you can be at home with the children helping to homeschool them, right? You don't really need to be out here working. Table 1 indicates the following. Black men have the highest unemployment rates of any race, gender group, and the lowest labor force participation and employment rates among men. And black women work more than white and Latina women, and black male participation and employment rates are just a bit higher than those of black women, while white and Latino men work more than women in each group. While these black male employment outcomes are already disturbing, let me come back until it's time for another table. Babe Rex, I see you, family. I'll be back over here if I got some time to chat up, okay? Oh, Lord. While these black male employment outcomes are already disturbing, they obscure another important fact. The official BLS statistics don't count many black men with low unemployment, And adjusting for this fact further reduces measured Black male employment and earning rates. The fact that so many Black men are missing from the official data is evident when we compare the reported population sizes in the BLS data between Black men and women, where we find that the former are 17% below the latter. The former are 17% below the latter. Male-female population gaps among white and Latino groups are not remotely as high. Differential mortality rates and immigrant arrival by gender can account for just a few percentage points of the observed gaps in population between Black males and females. I'll read that again. Differential mortality rates and immigrant arrival by gender can account for just a few percentage points of the observed gaps in population between Black males and females. There appear to be two additional factors. Let's see how many Hispanics are over in this country. $60.48 million Hispanics. 60.48 million. We used to be the second largest group. Hispanics are beating us by about 20 million. And this can happen when your men are employed and you can afford to create babies. We are about 46. Let me see how many Blacks. Let's just get the numbers because this includes immigrant Black, which to me ain't the same. All Black in this country ain't ADOCS Black. Let me go back. So there were 37,144,530 non-Hispanic Blacks, which comprised 12.1% of the population. This number increased to 42 million according to the 2010 U.S. Census, when including multiracial African Americans, making up 13% of the total U.S. population. 37 million non-Hispanic Blacks. 42 million when you include multiracial African Americans. That must be the Black immigrant portion that makes up that difference, I'm assuming. I really don't know. But you're talking 42 million Blacks overall to 60 million Hispanics. And Biden's spending 141 million a week to get about 26,000 migrant children over here monthly. Back to the text. There appear to be two additional factors accounting for the lower observed civilian non-institutional population of Black men. Number one, the undercount of such men in such surveys, and two, the large population of Black men incarcerated at any time. Of the 15 percentage point gap in the Black male and female populations from ages 25 to 54, about 7 points are due to incarceration and 8 to the undercount among those non-incarcerated. Including those incarcerated in population counts with no employment or labor force activity, lowers the measured education and employment outcome statistics of Black men relative to Black women and all other race gender groups. For instance, adding the currently incarcerated to the population of Black men and women renders their employment population ratios roughly equal at about 59% and 56% in January 2020. Oh my God. In 2020 and 2021, respectively. Adding the currently incarcerated to the populations of Black men and women renders their employment population ratios equal, roughly equal. Let me, about 59 and 56% in January 2020 and 2021, respectively. And if the undercounted but not currently incarcerated population of Black men has worse employment outcomes than those counted, which appears to be the case, then the employment of Black men falls below that of Black women. Oh my God. Indeed, Black male employment is lower than that of Black females, despite the fact that women also provide the vast majority of the child custody and care in this population. Bayer and Charles, 2017, present estimates of employment gaps between white and Black men at various points in time using data from the Census of American Community Surveys, which include the incarcerated but not those undocumented. Now, Table 2 presents their estimates of the percentages of each group in the ACS, the American Community Surveys, not working in 2013-14, both at the time of survey and over the entire prior year, and also presents the percentages not working who are institutionalized, almost all incarcerated or out of the labor force, not incarcerated. Let me share my screen, and then I'm going to let me do this table real quick, and then we're going to pick this up tomorrow, family. It's a very urgent article. We must go through it. This is the work. This is where the 100,000 of us who watch the slime ball shows, the celebrity crap, this is where we need to be. I thank you guys for being conscious and wanting to know and understand how to be politically educated so you too can get politically engaged. That I appreciate. I'm going to share this last table because I got to go back to work. Can y'all see that? I hope so. So this is men without work in 2013-14, ages 25 to 54 among whites and Blacks. Whites not working now during that period, 17. We were double. Blacks, 35. So 17% of whites weren't working to 35% of Blacks not working. Ages 25 to 54, this is when we should be making babies. Not working in the past year, 12% to Blacks, 27%. Institutionalized, whites 2% to Blacks 8%. Out of the labor force, whites 11%, Blacks 17%. The data indicate extremely high rates of prime age Black men without work. Over a third are not working at the time of the survey, and over a quarter over the entire past year. Those incarcerated account for a third of those out of the labor force. Adjusting for those undercounted would likely raise the racial wealth gaps we observe. Also, Bayer and Charles, let me stop sharing. Did I share that? Oh yeah, let me stop. Also, Bayer and Charles show that adjusting annual earnings estimates to include white and Black men. Let me stop. I'm at 127. I got to be to court on time. Listen, we're going to pick up on this article right here on tomorrow's broadcast of your midday wake-up call. I will, like I said, I'm going to be sharing later tonight. If I go on the Fox Soul, if I go on Fox Soul's Black Report, you guys can check over there at 4:30 Pacific Standard Time to see if I'm over there. But what I'm going to do is record that show, and then I'm going to create a StreamYard to stream it over here so we can talk about it, okay, family? And with that said, family, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. wherever ADOCS and its allies are, God truly is, because family, you are the face of God, the voice of God, the body temple of the spirit of the living God. I love you, Black. I love you, Strong. I'll see you later tonight. Mwah. Peace.